Hi there, welcome to the Schwowin's Nest. My name is Sandra, and I'm so glad you're here. I've got some sweet Valentine decor ideas for you, so let's get crafting. If you haven't already subscribed to my channel, I'd love it if you could hit that red button. I'm starting off with my newest craft kit that is available on my Etsy shop, and I thought I would make this cute little farmhouse window with a few hearts, and I'm going to add some florals to it as well. The wood pieces that you get in this are the window frame, the stand for the window frame, and 3 different sized hearts. I'm going to be painting the hearts in 3 different colors of pink. The largest one will be the darkest shade, and then I'll gradually get lighter as I go down to the smallest one. All I'm going to do with the pink paint here that I mixed up is add a little beige and a little bit of white just to lighten the colors up as I go. I decided not to paint the window or the stand. I really like the effect of the wood against the pink, and I'm just going to be layering the heart shapes one on top of each other, just kind of changing the angle a little bit just to give it some character. Of course, you can do anything you want with this craft kit if you decide to get it. It is available on my Etsy shop right now. I'm going to hot glue the frame onto the base, and I decided to put the frame on the very back part of the base, but I would suggest to put it more in the middle. That just helps it to stand a little bit straighter. When you put it towards the back, mine kind of leans just a wee bit. It doesn't tip over, but it does lean a little bit. The blossoms I'm using are from a hydrangea bush, and I did get that at Michael's many, many years ago, but I've got a bunch of them, so I probably will have at least 12 to 15 of these craft kits available with this type of floral. I may have to change it up depending on how popular it gets if I run out of this floral. What I've decided to do is pull out all of the little green stems that are inside the blossoms, and I'm just going to kind of pinch them together and glue them right down onto the wood. I'm going to start with a little bit more on the right side and then just kind of taper it off towards the left side. This is everything that's included in this new craft kit. You'll get the frame, the stand, the hearts, the greenery, the florals, and everything you need to recreate what I'm doing here. So now I'm just going to be trimming off some of those little greenery pieces and giving this a little bit more of a pop of color. You can place them wherever you want, wherever it's pleasing to your eye. That's what I do. I decided to cut one of the petals off of my little blossoms, and I'm just going to pinch it together and glue it together so it forms a little nice closed petal shape. And then I'm going to add that into the greenery right at the end here, more towards the right. And that's just going to give it a really pretty little sort of bud look. The last thing I'm going to add are these little tiny white wax flowers. I grabbed a couple of these bushes at the Dollar Tree in the summertime, and these are the perfect little addition to just adding some little more pops of color where the greenery is. You can put these wherever you want. You could omit them if you don't like them, but I think it just added a little bit more texture. And this project is complete. It is super sweet, and I hope you love it. This is also one of my favorites on this video. This is a wooden heart that I picked up at Michael's, and I printed off 2 copies of this vintage floral print. I'll have this whole paper available on my website as a free printable. It's 2 pieces that are actually put together on 1 page. And I'm just going to trace out the heart shape and then use my glue stick to glue it onto the paper. To get off any of the excess paper, I'm just using some 80 grit sandpaper and roughing up the edges. I want this to look a little bit distressed too. I'm going to ink up this stamp and put that right in the center of the heart. I'm just using some ink from the dollar store. I think this was I can't remember what dollar store, but it's called Forever in Time. And I've tried some other inks and I really like this one. It works very, very well. So once I'm done inking, I'm just going to make sure that I don't get anything around the edges, and then I'll place it gently in the middle of my heart using one of the lines there on the paper to make sure it's straight. I haven't used solo wood flowers in a while, and I really love their vintage look. So I'm going to take some of these mini ones that are white, and I'm going to just start by gluing one down at the very bottom where the paper didn't actually cover the heart. But this is also going to just help me with my design. I'm going to choose whichever flowers I want, and I'm just going to go up the right-hand side just a little wee bit, staggering the flowers, and I think I put in 6 or 7. To add a little bit more of a vintage look and some texture, I'm just taking little bits of Spanish moss and I'm going to just tuck it in underneath the flowers and just push it in using my finger. I think eventually I start using my scissors, and I just wanted to have a little bit of the brown color just to bring out some of the tones in the paper. I like to just take my Spanish moss and just give it a little haircut with my scissors to get it out of the bag, and then I'm just going to use some hot glue on the end of it and push it in. Once I'm done with that, I'm going to add some of these little pink wax flowers to add, again, a little bit more dimension. To create the hanger, I'm using this piece of lace from the Dollar Tree. It was just a little bit that I had left over, and I thought it would look really pretty holding this up. The color matches it really well. And just using some hot glue, I'll just glue it onto the back of the heart. Using a little bit more of the lace, I made just a simple shoestring bow with extra long tails. I'm going to add a solo wood flower to the top left corner of the heart, and then I'll glue the bow right underneath it. I went digging around in my stash. I knew I had some pink ribbon somewhere, and I found this beautiful satin one, and it has some cherry blossoms on it. I thought it would be perfect because it's the same color as the paper and just bring out a little bit more of that romantic color. I did a double bow for this one, and I'm going to glue that right on top of the lace bow. I'm going to add a few more of those little wax flowers, a little sprigs of some Spanish moss, and the last embellishment was just a silver key that I thought would look really pretty hanging out from underneath the bows. I hope you like this project. I think it turned out really pretty and soft and romantic and a little vintage. Project number 3 is just using a cardboard cutout of a heart. I freehanded it and I just cut it out of some scrap cardboard. I also cut out a piece of white felt, which I'm just going to glue on top of the cardboard because I'm going to be using some fabric on this and I didn't want any of the brown to show through. I am just using some of Aleene's clear gel tacky glue because I like that it doesn't go through the fabric. With hot glue, especially if the fabrics are a little bit thinner, sometimes the glue will show through or and you'll see like a spot or it'll change a different color. So I just decided to try this glue and I really do like it for fabric. So once I'm done with this, I'm just going to go ahead and stick the felt heart right on top and then trim off any excess. I cut out a few different types of fabric just into some strips. I have this really pretty blush pink that came from a dollar store baby blanket. I've got some of this gray sort of ticking stripe fabric. Then I have a chenille stripe, and I'm going to be using those and just alternating until I get across the heart. I am doing it in a diagonal fashion because I just thought that would give it a little bit more character. So I'm going to continue just placing my pieces where I need them to be, and then I'll just use the tacky glue to glue them right down onto the felt piece. So now that I have all of the pieces glued down, I'm going to flip it over and just give it a little bit of extra pressure to make sure that that glue absorbs right into the fabric. Now I'm going to break out my hot glue gun and just fold over all of these little excess pieces so they cover up the side part of the heart. I'm not really too concerned about that because I will be adding a little bit of a texture to that as well, but just to make sure that everything stays in place. So just be careful when you're using hot glue with your fabric because sometimes it can be really hot coming through your fingers. I tend to use the low heat setting on my little glue gun here, and it works really well. I've never burned my fingers in a really long time. To cover up the cardboard and all of the mess from the other pieces, I'm just going to cut out another little piece of that baby blanket and trace around my heart. And then I'll just hot glue that to the back, making sure that it isn't too big. I don't want to be able to see that extra piece of fabric on the back. And one thing I want to mention is if you work with fabric, you want to have a good pair of fabric scissors. Not just a regular pair of scissors that you can get at any store. You want fabric scissors. They make such a difference in cutting smooth, clean lines, and they are super sharp, and you want to make sure that you never use them for anything else but fabric. Even if you're cutting some ribbon, if it has fabric but it's got some wires in it, do not use your fabric scissors. Make sure you save them just for fabric. Here's what the heart looks like so far. I really love how it turned out. Next, I'm going to take some of this cotton rope and I'm going to just cut a length of it and double it up because what I want to do is twist it and create sort of a coiled rope effect. So that will be the border around the heart, which will then cover up any of the cardboard that is still visible. I started at the top point of the heart and I'm just going to do small sections and glue the rope down. If it comes unraveled a little bit, I'll just take my time and twist it up a little bit more so I have the same amount of twist all the way around. I love using spindles in decor, so I decided to mount this heart onto a spindle. This one already had some paint on it from a previous project. I'm going to go ahead and add a nail to it. I previously poked the nail into the bottom of the heart so I would be able to have a pre-drilled, say, hole. And then I used the nail head as the base inside the hole of the spindle. Then I just added a whole bunch of hot glue and made sure to hold it in place until it dried securely. To cover up the wood of the top of the spindle that was still showing, I took some of the extra fabric, cut them in thinner strips, and then tied a single knot right in the middle. I'm going to use that knot to glue right down onto the top of the spindle, and this will give me sort of a rustic, shabby chic kind of bow all the way around the heart. And I think this turned out really pretty. I wasn't sure it was going to, but then once it was done, I fell in love. I hope you like this project too. This is one of the little signs that you can find at the Dollar Tree. I'm going to pop out the backing and then remove the welcome letters because I'm not going to need any of that. I'm using this sort of off-white chenille fabric. It's really soft and cozy. And I also cut out another piece of white felt. And now I'm just taking some of this pillow stuffing. I'm just going to tear it apart and make it a little fluffy. And I'll just set it right on top of the felt. I'm not going to glue it down or anything because it's not necessary. Then I'm going to take the piece of chenille and I'm going to use some hot glue and glue that all the way around onto the felt. So I have a little square or rectangle that has a little bit of a puffy center. I'm going to make sure that I get right to the edge of the felt with this fabric, and then that will be the same size as what I need to fit back inside the frame. Next, I'm going to just hot glue the fabric right onto the board. I don't need a whole lot of glue for this because once I pop the frame back on, that'll help to hold it in place. Now, because there was a little extra fabric, the cardboard didn't sit flush and wouldn't snap back inside, so I just pushed it in as best I could and then added a bead of hot glue all the way around the sides to make sure that it stayed in place. When I'm out thrifting, I am always on the lookout for different and unique things that you can use for projects. And I know that you can find some of these Scrabble pieces at different craft stores, and I think Michael's carries them too. But I found this at the thrift store for $3 and it was the whole game. So now I'm just trying to decide where I want to put these little letters, and I decided to glue them a little off center right on the bottom ledge of the frame. I took some pieces of ribbon, some twine, some rope, and created a messy bow stack. I'll use one of the pieces of sort of white twine, it's kind of a beige color, to tie off the knot right in the center. I'll use a bead of hot glue just to place it in the corner and put it right onto the fabric instead of the frame. I thought it would be a little different just having the bow on the inside of the frame instead of right on it. The last thing I did for this was just spread out some of the ribbons, and if I needed to glue them in place because this is going to be standing up, I didn't want those top ones to fall down, so I did use some hot glue to glue them onto the frame. I added a little shoestring bow just in some brown twine, and this project is done. It's another cutie, and I hope you really enjoyed all of these projects today. If you like these projects, please give me a thumbs up. That gets me noticed more on YouTube and helps my channel grow. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on anything else I have to share. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.